All right, I'm starting off the new year with a fun video. I recently watched an overrated, underrated video by a channel called Dr. Lee. It's two dermatologists, and they were playing the game with common skincare brands. And I quickly went to check on YouTube to see if anyone had done it on women's brands, clothing brands to resell, and I couldn't find any videos, so I thought it would be so fun to pick 30 brands. I asked some of you guys on Instagram some of your favorite brands to resell. I'll tell you if I think that brand is overrated or underrated, and maybe give you a little reason why, and hopefully this isn't too long of a video with 30 brands. So let's just jump right into it. Patagonia, one of my favorite brands to wear, find, resell. Love the brand in every way. This may come as a surprise, but I'm going to say it's overrated. And the reason is I remember the first couple Patagonia pieces I found. I knew people loved it. I love the brand, and they were t-shirts and they did not move for anything. So I think unless you can find a Patagonia outerwear piece, more than likely, personally, I would skip on it unless it's super cheap or it's a really great size, a larger size. But yeah, I only really focus on Patagonia outerwear to resell. Next up is Zara. No, way overrated. I remember finding a couple people who specialized in reselling Zara, and I would get excited because I would focus on, oh, this is a cute style, it's trendy, it's on season, all of that kind of stuff. And unless it's a blogger favorite, meaning you do maybe a Google Lens search and you see that bloggers have highlighted it, unless it's something super unique, I pass on Zara 99% of the time. It's not that expensive a brand. It's a fast fashion brand. And while it can resell, it just doesn't resell for a lot for me. So if you're picking things up for $1, might not be a bad idea. Again, larger sizes, if you're willing to sell something for $20 and you can pay $1, it's not bad. But for me, it's definitely overrated. And there are exceptions to all of these. So Lululemon, overrated. I'm sorry. I know so many people love picking up Lululemon, and I wear a lot of Lululemon and I pick it up a lot too. The reason I think it's overrated is the majority of Lululemon items actually won't resell quickly for me or for much money. A tank top, a Y tank, I might be lucky to get $20 for it in 6 months to a year. That's a good day. So unless it's a really great, unique Lululemon piece or desirable or very recent, yeah, I won't spend much on Lululemon. But high-rise leggings, Align leggings, some of those things, if you know what you're looking for, they can be a good pickup. I just think that the majority of Lululemon I find are dated, they're heavily pilled, so they're not in great condition, and oftentimes they're smaller sizes. And yeah, so I still pick it up. I don't say knock it, but I think it's overrated. Next up is Stu. Stu I think is underrated. I don't even think a lot of people know of Stu, or if they find it, they think that the condition's bad, but it's actually a distressed style of boots. I've sold this brand a number of times, usually pretty quickly and for decent money. And unless I price too high, which that happens. I think that it's a little hard to see on to identify it, especially if you're digging through bins. You could just kind of go, oh, that's trash pair of shoes. I'm not even gonna look at the label. But I have a lot of good luck with it, and I think there's a loyal following. So definitely underrated with that one. All right, next up is Free People, one of the most overrated brands, I think, in the reselling game for women's clothing. I remember finding my first few pieces of Free People and I was so excited. And I think most people, it's on their list to find if they're a new reseller or new to women's clothing. And while it can be fun to find it, some pieces can do well. 99.9% of Free People will sell between $10 to $30 if you're lucky in 6 months, a year, maybe 2 years. I have some Free People items that have sat for over 3 years, and I've lowered the price, I've upped the price, I've retaken photos. I can't seem to move them to save my life. So I think it's just a saturated brand, and unless it's a really unique piece, yeah. Plus size, or larger sizes, I should say, in Free People, I still pick up, but I typically won't pay too much for Free People. Google Lens also is a really great one for something like a Free People item. If you can snap it in the store and find the exact style while you're there, you can see some of the exact comps for it and see, oh, this is selling for 40 or 50 on average. This might be worth paying up for a little bit versus something that is, 500 listed, and some of them are listed for 10 or 15. So Kuhl, Khul, is an outdoor wear brand, an active wear brand. I love this brand and it's underrated. If you don't know what Kuhl is, you might pass it. You might think, oh, these are just terrible or just like nothing hiking pants. It's one of my favorite brands to pick up. It's got a loyal following. They really know how to make a really good hiking pant. Most of them are convertible, meaning you can make them full length, a capri length, sometimes even a short length. And they're durable. So if you are hiking and you're sitting on rocks and you're moving around, it's just a good brand. I don't typically pick up Kuhl in tops as often, but hiking pants I almost always pick up if they're in decent condition. Tommy Bahama, overrated. I know that there was a time and a day when Tommy Bahama silk men's Hawaiian shirts were the thing and they could flip for $30, $40, sometimes $50. And while there are some exceptions with Tommy Bahama, based off of a really larger size or a specific style, the majority that I find in thrift stores, a lot of my thrift stores actually recognize that brand and will mark them up. And that's fine if they have the base for it. It's a good quality and it's got a loyal following, but I can't seem to move most things for more than $20 to $25. I still occasionally pick up a sweater every now and then, expecting about $25 if I can get it cheap enough. So Eileen Fisher. I know I get so many comments on this brand because I pick it up so often from people who say they have so much Eileen Fisher that they can't move, or I have 4 pieces of Eileen Fisher and I can't sell them. Eileen Fisher is specific around the material, the style, the size, but it is an expensive brand. It has a loyal following, and it's my personal sell-through rate is fairly high. So I've sold a lot more Eileen Fisher than I have listed. And I don't know the breakdown, but last time I looked, I want to say it was like a 90% sell-through rate or something for me, which is really great. So I think that you shouldn't pick up every Eileen Fisher piece, but if it's a plus size or large, extra large, if it's linen, if it's got a lag and look style, meaning it's kind of that oversized draped style, I don't typically do well with Eileen Fisher that's a fitted tank or shell. That stuff I will pass unless it's super cheap, but price accordingly. I think the comps are a little mixed with Eileen Fisher. Sometimes it looks like you could get more than what you really can. So, a lot of it will sell for me between 20 to 50, the majority being in that 30 to 40 range for a really great piece. Sorel, overrated. Have I gotten any underrated? I think I have 1 or 2 maybe. Sorel, overrated. They had the Joan of Arc boots that were really, really trendy when I first started reselling. And I just recently found them and I sold them. But that was definitely a brand that I felt like I could pay up for when I first started reselling. And now it's like I might only want to pay $5, $6 for it instead of 10 to 20. It's good quality. I wear Sorel. I have a pair of Sorel boots. But I just think the trendiness has gone a little bit. It's also a very seasonal item. So unless some people are shopping for winter right now, I just think it is overrated, but I still wear it. Madewell, overrated, 100%. There are exception pieces with Madewell, and if you know that really great wool coat that's a light pink, and you can find that a vlogger wore it, and there are definitely exception pieces. But the jeans and the basics that I find most of the time, pair of jeans, even in the more current styles, some only go for $30 to $40 for me, which isn't terrible. But I just think I find it so much. The majority of what I find is just the basics, and I can't even give those away half the time. So Madewell, if you can find a really special piece, not a bad pickup, but I don't like spending too much on it most of the time. J.Crew is underrated. It's actually the same parent company. J.Crew, I think a lot of people turn their nose up to mall brands, and I have sold a J.Crew jacket for over $100. I've sold some J.Crew items for $30 to $50. You have to look them up. And the good thing about Madewell and J.Crew is you can look up the style info pretty easily. So again, you're going to see J.Crew a lot out there, but I think just because it's a mall brand doesn't mean you can't find items that will sell between $50 to $100. And a lot of people know the brand. I used to wear J.Crew all the time to my career jobs before reselling. So just because it's more common doesn't mean there aren't more buyers for it, and those great pieces are still worth something. All right, Ariat, the cowboy brand. I think it's overrated. I know a lot of people like picking up cowboy boots, and I know the last 6 months it was really trendy, even in the urban cities like New York and San Francisco. I just haven't had that much luck with the brand. It's not one of the highest end lines or brands of cowboy boots. And I've tried to sell a couple pairs and I haven't been able to really move them for much more than 30 bucks. Condition matters. I understand that. Size matters, style. But there are other cowboy boot brands that if I see them, I'll get excited. I don't know how to pronounce it. You guys can share in the comments, but Luchese or Lucchese, or I remember selling it one time and it sold for over $100 very quickly. So there are some cowboy boot brands that I keep an eye out for, but Ariat I see often, and I just, it's overrated for me. Smartwool, underrated. Love this brand. The reason I say it's underrated is you might see it and you think, oh, it's got a little weird character on here, and it's just a long sleeve tee half the time, but it's base layers. And if you've ever done any winter hiking, snowboarding, skiing, any sort of adventure outside in winter, base layers are your best friend, and they just nailed the technology of it. I think they use a merino wool half the time. Do check for holes. I've learned that the hard way, but Smartwool usually sells very quickly for me. I've sold some pieces from $50 to $70, and I just get so excited to find that brand. Bionic, underrated. I like picking up this brand, and it's a comfort brand, and not all styles will sell for a lot, but quite often it actually usually sells for $30 to sometimes up to $50 for me. And I just think it has a loyal following. People know it. They know what size they wear. They know a style that they like. They want to buy more of them. And they are fairly expensive. It's kind of like a Clarks. That's not on my list, but I was a loyal Clarks wearer, the trendier styles, because comfort is really important if you have to be on your feet, running around, doing anything. I was always walking not long distances, but from buses or, to work in San Francisco. And so comfort was really crucial. And so yeah, Bionic, I like it. Crocs, overrated. I know there's some Crocs exceptions. There are the collabs with that rapper. I can't think of his name right now. I know there's some exceptions with Crocs, but the majority of Crocs I see, they're just not worth it. I know that I was talking to someone, I can't remember who it was, and they love picking up Crocs at the bins because they're super lightweight and they know it's going to be a quick flip of like $20 to $25. If you know that going in, I don't think it's a bad pickup. I just personally am trying to pick up less of those items that are only going to sell for $20 to $25 because it's storage, it's photos, it's shipping, all of that stuff. And I just don't, and I'm not a Crocs wearer, so maybe I'm biased. Doc Martens, overrated. And I know so many people love picking up Doc Martens. I own them to wear. I have resold them lots of times, and I will look them up, but condition for Docs is usually a factor for me. Are they authentic? There are fake Docs out there, so I get concerned about that. And also certain Docs, certain styles are more desirable than others. So I just think that I have made the mistake of picking them up and hearing people say, oh, I always pick up Docs even if they're thrashed, but then I can't move those. So I just think, I don't know. Plus, is the 90s trend going away? I don't know. I feel like it will sooner or later. We'll be on to some other era, but Salomon, they do sneakers, like running sneakers, and I am going to say this is overrated. I remember seeing people who love to sell shoes, love picking up Salomon, and I picked up two, and I think I still have one sitting over 2 years. I don't know what it is. Maybe there are certain styles of Salomon, so maybe that was my mistake of not looking at the specific style. Highly possible. I haven't picked it up recently, but in my very limited experience with this brand, I haven't had much luck with it, and I kind of had the impression that it was going to go a lot quicker and for a lot of money, and it just didn't. Vans. Are my nieces listening? I think they're overrated. I think they're overrated for the majority because they're so common. They're not that expensive retail. Unless you get some custom pair. Like I did find a pair of Star Wars that were new, and those had really great comps. So there are some exceptions, but the average pair of Vans, like the checkered kind, and most of the time they're in terrible condition when I find them. And when I look them up, it's like I might be able to get 20 to 25, maybe 30 if I'm lucky. And I don't know, our shoes in our area are pretty expensive, usually around that $10 mark. So for me, it just doesn't make sense. Lucky brand. If you had asked me about if this were overrated, underrated 2 years ago, I would have said it was underrated because I felt like a lot of people were hating on Lucky Brand. It's not that Lucky Brand won't sell. It's one of my highest selling brands of all time on Poshmark. It just won't sell for much money, and it's not always the quickest flip. And so the combination of those two, if you can buy a lot of Lucky Brand at the bins for $1 a piece, and you're okay sitting on it for a year and only selling it for $15 to $20, that to me is a lot of Lucky Brand. There are exceptions. I have sold some Lucky Brand for $40, $50. It does have a loyal following, but because it's so saturated, there's so much of it. Even the plus size, I don't have that good of luck with of getting much return. So I would say now it's overrated, and I'm very, very picky on any Lucky Brand that I pick up. Sundry, Sundry. This brand is underrated for sure. I just picked it up recently. Every time I pick up this brand, it sells very quickly for me. Boo, do you want to come say hi? Come here. Do you want to say hi to your friends? Huh? Do you want to say hi to your friends? Be on camera today? Or you want to go outside in the sun again? I know. Okay, you can go outside. I know. Okay, where are we? Sundry. Sundry, I think, is underrated. It doesn't look like it would really get that much. And in fact, it really doesn't. Most of the time, it gets somewhere between 25 to 35 for me. But it's usually a quick flip, and they usually have a pretty loyal following. The sizes on Sundry are a little off. So like if you pick up a 1, that's actually a small. They have the vanity sizing. But I have decent luck with selling it fairly quickly. So I would much rather pick something up for a few dollars and sell it in a month for $25 than, pick something up for $5 and sit on it and sell it for $30 in a year type of thing. So it's not going to bring in astronomical amounts, but it to me is underrated. The North Face, overrated, unless it's just a really, really great the North Face item. I sold a puffer recently that was $100 or somewhere around there. Other than that, most the North Face items, especially clothing items, kind of like Patagonia, I will pass on. So outerwear being the exception, good condition, and more of a recent style or desirable style. But again, the North Face is faked a lot. So I would be very cautious, or at least do some research if you do find it out and about, and look for some of those red flags. Torrid, overrated. I know you guys can leave the hate in the comments. I know so many people have said this is their favorite brand to resell. And I have sold a lot of Torrid, and it does sell quickly most of the time. I just never get much more than $15 to $20 for it. Now, an exception is a pair of overalls. I picked up 2 pairs of overalls recently. Those can sell for, $30, sometimes up to $40. I think I sold a jacket once that was around $40. There are some exceptions, but Torrid is fairly inexpensive. It's not cheap, but it's a fast fashion brand, and it's not, some high-end designer. So a lot of the Torrid I find are tops. And while they can be cute, I might only get $15 for them. And I just don't think that's really worth it for me most of the time. So Anthropologie, another one of the most overrated brands. I don't think anyone disagrees with this. There are exceptions. Again, to all of these brands, you could probably sell something for a decent amount. Anthropologie has some really great pieces if you can find them, those unicorn pieces. But for the majority of Anthropologie, it's going to be outdated, maybe even a brand that doesn't exist anymore. And it's saturated. So there's so much of it out there. It really has to be special to bring in decent money. I still pick it up. It is still one of my top selling brands, but I'm much more selective these days. I pass on it more and more. I'm really focusing on larger sizes or really, really unique pieces. Reformation, overrated. Oh my gosh. I have seen people post this sold for 100 and this sold for 150 and this. I can't seem to sell Reformation for more than like 20, 30, sometimes $40. I will never pick up Reformation jeans again because I've tried that a few times and I can't move them. I don't know what it is. I know all brands have their items that do well, but Reformation, I'm usually expecting somewhere in that 25 to 30 if I find something decent. And I just think I was so disappointed the first few items that I tried to resell and they didn't sell for much. So Converse, overrated. Overrated? Yeah, overrated. I think Converse comes in waves. It's kind of like Vans, it's on trend. It's not on trend. It goes in these waves. I used to wear Converse when I was younger. I just think they're so common. Most of the time they're in bad condition. They're not that expensive retail, kind of all the same reasons as Vans. It would have to be a really unique Converse piece for me to get excited about it or pick it up. So not for me. Nike. We're going to say Nike in general, clothing and shoes, overrated. There's just so much of it out there. And while there can be some really amazing sneaker flips, that is not my specialty. And condition usually is a factor. If people are wearing something athletic, they more than likely are getting a lot of wash wear out of it. And so there's pilling and maybe even some stretching and stuff like that. With shoes, I mean, I don't like cleaning shoes, so that's half the time why I won't pick up Nike shoes. So I think it's overrated. I know some people do really well with it. That's just never going to be my thing. Spanx, I think it's becoming overrated. Oh, and it breaks my heart because I have paid full price for Spanx a number of times. I just think it's becoming more and more common. More people own it. I still pick it up, but I'm expecting more of a realistic amount, and it's not usually going to flip for all that. It's not going to flip as quickly for me as I would like. So I think it's overrated. 2 years ago, I think it would have been underrated, but things change. If you watched one of my videos from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, my opinions on half that stuff would probably be different today just because brands change on the resale market often. So, all right, 3 more. Flax. I am not going to lie. I'm going to say this is overrated. I'm going to say it's overrated. I saw so many people post on Instagram when they would pick up these flax, like multiple flax items, and they would get all excited, and it was in my first few months of reselling, and I was like, ooh, I can't wait to find flax. That's when I learned about lag and look and linen material and all of that stuff, just knowing that there was a cult following for that. Even the first couple of flax items that I picked up, they didn't sell very quickly for me. And while some of them can sell for decent money, a lot of them don't sell quickly for me or really for as much as I had hoped. So I don't know. Flax is, I don't find it as much as Eileen Fisher. So maybe that's why I've got a bias with Eileen Fisher. I find that all the time versus flax. I don't find as much. I just think I was really disappointed to flip it a couple times because it didn't meet my expectations. Mother jeans. I like picking up Mother, and I have flipped some Mother for close to $100. I think one of them was $100. A lot of them are stretched and pulled, so the condition isn't that great, which, I wouldn't pick up either anyway, but I think it's overrated. I really like Mother, but a lot of the items only sell for 30 to 40 for me, which there's a lot of jean brands that sell for that much for me. I just picked some up. I think I'm either listing them or I just did. I can't even remember. But so it's not that I don't pick them up. I just think that there was a day where it was like a consistent $75, $100, $125 you could get for those jeans. And these days I'm finding the majority of Mother I pick up are not worth picking up for me. All right, last one, Lilly Pulitzer. Man, I am like love-hate relationship with this brand, and I'm going to say it's overrated. I don't find it all that much. I have sold it a number of times. And there can be some unique pieces. There can be some pieces that are collectible, some vintage pieces, etc. But I would say the majority of Lilly I find, it's like a polo, and it's like, it's not really that exciting. It's not gonna, and most of the time they don't sell quickly for me. I just sold a dress that was Lilly that sat for a year. And it didn't, it sold for $30 or something like that. So I don't know. I'm just not thrilled by it. So I think it's overrated. But leave me a comment below to tell me if you disagree with any of mine. I completely understand. We all have different experiences as resellers. I just thought this would be fun. And I hope everyone's having a good new year. I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.